Well, thank y'all for coming. This is the Money Talk. We're gonna discuss pricing methods for artwork. The scope isn't really for you to walk out and know to the penny what you're going to charge for this piece of artwork. It's more for you to understand the different methods that different artists use to price. You could find the one that works for you and go over some of the pitfalls that we've had. So there's this story, uh, probably not true, but it's popular, about Picasso sitting in a cafe and somebody asks him for a sketch. And he takes a napkin and he does a sketch on it real quick. And he says, okay, that'll be $10,000. And the woman's like, $10,000? It took you 5 seconds to do. He's like, no, it took me a lifetime to do. And that kind of speaks about understanding your value as an artist. And the fact that if you are an artist, you're an entrepreneur. Um, I know that a lot of art classes don't teach you business, but I honestly think they really should. Because I mean, I think I know two, maybe three full-time artists, but I know I don't know how many artists.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
and they
Yeah,
are salesmen, and it's not discussed in art class, and that's okay because they want you to develop your style and creativity and things like that. But I think that should be um, discussed. It should be an open.
yeah. I don't know why money for artists is a taboo. It shouldn't be.
Well, I imagine that we get into that a little bit later, but I definitely think if there's a reason for it, and it's because it's a way for you to not feel comfortable discussing money and asking for it. And I think that that's an idea that's been generated not just for artists, but for anybody who is a working person. To don't discuss money because then you sound crass. And, it's like, really? I have to pay bills. We live in a capitalistic society. Are you?
Exactly. Can't pay rent with exposure dollars. So understanding your value as an artist, Susan is going to talk more about this after the my little slideshow. But skills and techniques, you spend years of honing your craft and demonstrating expertise in your chosen medium, and it adds value. Creative vision, the unique perspective that only you can offer, and your career as an artist, awards, exhibitions, recognition, press coverage, commissions, and professional experience can all justify higher pricing. A lot of it is going to be market research, which is basically just one way to put it is uh, trial and error, really. You put some pieces out. If they sell quick, maybe you can charge higher. If they don't sell at all, maybe you're charging too much. But comparing similar artists, oh, also, by the way, there's a QR code at the end for anybody that you don't need to take notes. You could just scan the QR code. But or yeah, find five comparable artists in style, medium, and career stage, analyze their pricing methods, sales platform, and exhibition history to gauge their market position. Target audience, that'd be your buyers. Their demographics is what you kind of want to learn. Their age, income, location, interests, purchasing behavior, and aesthetic and local preferences. Like here, something with a crawfish or a fleur de lis on it is going to sell better than in New York. Your location, evaluate the demand for art in your region. If the local market is weak, consider expanding to online platforms or regional art hubs.
And I think like it should be included that you compare your five artists and you locate them. start local. Cause that's who your peers are. That's where you're gonna get the most information. I'm not gonna go and, judge myself against somebody who's thriving in New York, and only because we have similar thoughts. That would be, I don't know how well that would suit me, because where I'm living and making money and where my peers are in my regional area, I think that that's your better bet of choosing your artist to compare yourself to. And as you expand and grow your network, then you can pull those other artists in from other areas. But, I'm never gonna compare myself to Picasso and the napkin that was $2,000.
Yeah,
I just.
exactly.
I tried, I gave it back.
What if the right now in
With you
what
working,
I'm doing within this immediate area, I don't think there's very many people doing what I'm doing. I've had to go outside of Lafayette.
well,
Find
that's
other
another
people
very
that-
good question, and I think that because of the niche style of work that you're doing, the cyanotypes, is you would go to that peer group. As a printmaker,
Yeah.
there are printmakers in this area, but I would enlarge the group because of the niche style of the work. And then I would go from there, and as you open up and you start talking shop with people, be candid. Hey, you don't have to answer this question, but what do you do in this situation?
Yeah.
It's a discussion point.
When I first started doing the cyanotypes, people wanted to purchase the cyanotypes. I didn't know what to charge for. So I spent maybe a good 2 hours looking online, looking on Pinterest, and just typing in cyanotypes and watching and then seeing what would come up.
Yeah.
I would see an artist, I'd look through there and see.
And technically that you would, that it's gonna wanna be classified as a print because of the type, the TYP
Mhm.
at the end, but it's not. It's an original work of art that requires, your strategy to get to that end result. So, yeah, I would, but I think that that's gonna come out when we get to this pricing method, this next step.
So, did some of my own research, talking to different artists about different methods that they use. Time plus materials. It's basically material cost times 2 plus your hourly rate times time. And that would be the minimum price. This ensures that all costs are covered. Size-based pricing, length time width times rate per square inch would be your minimum price. So if you have something that's 10 by 10 inches, be 100 times whatever you decide your inch rate would be. One problem is that it doesn't account for complexity. Everything times 4. You'd take your price of your work so you could afford to create it 3 or 4 more times. While this approach may require the most effort, it can lead to the best results. Factor in everything that you can possibly think of: gesso, studio rent brushes, and even gas. And also, you wouldn't want to charge for like an entire jug of gesso, just like the percentage of it that you would use is kind of what that means. Relative pricing. This would be using market research, like you said, like for Etsy. You can upload your images or upload your artwork with Google Lens and get a vague reply of similar pieces. And also ChatGPT, now you can upload art And it can also give you, so far, it's still vague, but it's can at least give you some results. I think Etsy is probably a lot better.
Other websites, they have Big Cartel, they have Etsy, they have Squarespace, you know, but when you see your artist that you like, whatever social media platform, go to their hyperlink and look and see what their website is and who, you know, because that might be a website that you want to use to promote your work. They have different creative platforms that are made just for creatives, that if you do one of their websites or you sign up with it, like Behance on Adobe, it'll populate a website for you based on what you did in Behance. And it's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
And don't forget to factor in what sets your work apart. That gets back into what can only you bring to the table. Pricing something you kind of don't want to sell. This has happened to me. Basically, it's not for something that you want to put not for sale on, because there is a number you'd be willing to sell it for. So it's a little bit of soul searching to figure out what that number is. Basically, it's that number over the regret you would have for selling it.
But for artists, you can likely make something very similar, just get a good photo, you know. But yeah, if you want to keep it for a while, you know, you're dating it, y'all are in a serious relationship, and it's like really going good, you know, make them pay,
Yeah,
you know. You know, like I'm happy, right?
Yeah,
You need to make sure, because I'm okay with keeping this.
yeah. It's a totally valid reason to charge a premium.
You have overstated your welcome. You're like now like bargain pricing.
Yeah,
So
Well,
we all go through peaks and valleys of how we feel about our.
mhm.
I had heard just the opposite about emotional attachment. You need to just get rid of that emotional attachment.
Well, this is the thing that I have an issue with. Sometimes you have a really good piece and say you want to have a show and you want to display that. Once it's out of your hands, there's no guarantee that the patron who purchased it will allow you to have it for your show. And what if that's a crucial piece? So those are things that I would keep in mind, you know, with say, now this is, it's not something that can be pinpointed, but what if you've applied to 10 shows for the next year because you were doing that online platform thing where, you know, you're trying to get your work out there and get it seen by other people. And so you put that work into other places and it's really legitimately not available to be sold. If you explain that to the person, say, hey, look, you can buy it, but I can't give it to you until I make sure that it is not going somewhere. You know, and I'll put that it's sold and things like that. So,
Yeah. And I mean, if the person lives far from you, shipping and handling becomes a cost. Adjusting prices as your career grows. Start low, go high eventually. Market demand, track demand through sales volume, inquiries, and waiting lists. Higher demand can justify higher prices, basically. Platform venue considerations. Account for gallery commissions, online platform fees, or shipping costs, and adjust your price to maintain profitability after those costs. Building a brand. Artists who build a strong brand identity can often command higher prices. Consider strategies such as social media engagement, creating a personal website, networking at events, and collaborating with other artists. Maintaining consistency in your vision, style, and messaging is also key to establishing a recognized identity. Like I know Hannah Gumbo has an amazing work, and she has built this beautiful brand. I, on the other hand, have gone completely the other way. I'm going into different mediums all the time. So maintaining consistency, it's up to you. You don't have to do it that way. Pricing for commissions. I have an error in there, but sorry. So ask for 50 upfront and consultation fee. I have done commissions before and not asked for 50 upfront. And when the piece is done, they all of a sudden I don't hear back from them. If similar to previous price works, use that as a guide. Otherwise, estimate based on time, complexity, and material. If the client gives additional feedback during the commission, that's time you should charge for. I know you had some experience with this.
Get into consultation fee when I get into myself, but I think it's a really important thing to do, especially when you're doing commissions. Now, let me also add that it's a case-by-case situation, and it's a judgment call. So you take it, each commission is different from every other one. Just as the individual who is requesting the work is different from every other person who's going to be requesting a commission from you. So, you know, you can, I have one right now where it's another artist, and I've just really decided I'm not worried about a commission fee. Because it was something that I was like, I'm happy to do this because I think it would be fun and it would get me out of what I'm doing. However, I think it's a very good practice and you should stick with it. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a case-by-case basis. Charge a consultation fee. I just say what my boss says, like, this is my billable rate. And when you pay this consultation fee, you're gonna get 10 hours of my creative brainstorming time. I will produce 3 images for you, and we can discuss 1 revision. If there are more after that first revision, then we need to go back to the drawing board and rediscuss the consultation fee, amended and supplemented, and figure out where we go from there. Because if I can't, it might be that after a certain point, you're like, I don't think this is gonna work out. And I think I can put you with another artist who would better suit you. You know, so those are other things when you to think about, but I think that it's important because people forget that you're gonna go and sit and not just give 10 hours. You're gonna give 20 hours. You're gonna be thinking about it. You're gonna be super stressed out on what do they want? Oh my God, well, it doesn't matter. Because it's just like being in school and your first time you're submitting a paper to a teacher for the first time. You don't know what they want. So it's okay to submit. That's what I'm saying. Submit the 3 things, knowing that you're gonna have a dialogue and you're gonna go back to the drawing board. But if it's a lot of work, that's when it's time to readdress those things. So I just think that you should get paid for that time.
Absolutely. So this is interesting, I find. It's not there yet, but possibility of AI and art pricing. Art pricing tools already exist that are expected to become increasingly sophisticated and have the potential to be adopted by artists, galleries, and collectors. Some of the good things it could do is data analysis. They can analyze past sales, market trends, and buyer demographics to provide data-driven prices and recommendations. Predictive insights, these tools can forecast market trends, helping artists anticipate demand and adjust pricing strategies accordingly. Accessibility, which is actually really good, I think, because it can democratize access to material, to market insights, empowering emerging artists to price their work with more confidence. However, with AI, while AI offers valuable insights, artists should balance data with their creative intuition and emotional connection to their work. And a couple extra things is transparent pricing. Don't hesitate to share the factors that contribute to your pricing with buyers. By discussing your process, material cost, and time invested, you can foster trust and enhance understanding. Navigating client relationships by be prepared for buyers, including friends and family, to request discounts, decide in advance whether your pricing will be firm or flexible. Boundaries are good. The first piece I sold to somebody that wasn't a friend or family hit me up with a discount for it. And I was like, this is kind of a landmark thing, so yeah, let's do it. But it'll come up, so it's good to have that in your head in advance. And that'd be it. No problems there. And adjusting prices. Some artists believe that lowering established prices can create a negative perception among clients who paid the higher price. Others feel that market demand should dictate pricing adjustments. I'm closer to the second, because that's market research right there, like we talked about, like that trial and error, you know.
And I would also like to add parent pricing. I was having a discussion. And we were talking about how I price work, and I explained the way that I price my work. And they said, which is, I was taught by my professor, tally it all up. You want to add in the cost of your canvas, the wood, the gesso, the paint, all of that, and your time, your rate, you know, however you want to do it. Multiply it times 3 or 4, add in maybe a brush or two. And the reason is that you want to be able to paint 3 or 4 more. And I explained that to them, and I was like, this is the reason why my prices are set this way. And they said, you know, that made me encouraged or more open to purchasing the work, because I thought it was just like an arbitrary price point that I was given, and like, oh, you know, or you have to explain to them like, well, it's in a show, so it's priced a lot higher because the gallery's going to take 50% or 35%. You know, I'm just trying to take home this, and what I take home is it's not because I'm making a living off of this. Would I like to? I don't know, because I love my art so much, I don't want it to be a job. I like to just make it. That's why I doubt I'd ever have a brand. But I think it's good to, and this is part of that, talking about money and just being open and frank with who your potential client is, or somebody who's interested in your work. You know, they may not buy from you that night, but they may circle back around. And I think it's really just kind of like, don't make it like a hard line that you won't budge with. I think it's always a case by case basis. You know, sometimes I have an idea that I want to make a certain amount of money, and then I will be talking with a friend and I can see the excitement that they have over the piece. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna sell it for them to have, you know, but I'm still gonna make a little bit of money. I will offer payment plans as well, you know, and I'll hold the work until they finish paying. And, you know, and they are more excited about that first purchase of work, you know, and it's a case by case basis.
It really is.
And and like Bob said, we're not here to tell you how work should be priced. We're here to tell you what our pitfalls have been. And I want to tell you about mine. I learned to talk about money working in a law firm. I started out as a legal assistant, and my boss would make me cold call his angry clients who were years of litigation, thousands of dollars in the hole, already have an outstanding balance, and cold call them and say, you know, Mr. Jim wants you to pay your I don't know, $1,800 bill and put an additional $2,000 retainer down because you're about to go to trial. And I had to do that a lot. And it was mortifying. I did not like to do that. Well, now I'm the office manager of the law firm, and I cold call people all the time, and I say, hey, you have an outstanding balance and you haven't made a payment in a while. How are we gonna address this? What are we gonna do to fix it? And it got easier. The more you do it, the easier it gets. It's less, so I would say, get over that. It's not easy at first. I mean, I wanted to just like yam a lot, but I did it and I got better.
You really do have to fake it to make it. Just pretend to be confident.
And I began to tell people my hourly rate was his hourly rate. I was just like, because he would say, well, my hourly rate is this. And so when I started saying, like for consultation fees, I would just say that and not even bat an eye. And it helps, and so I told my clients I charge the consultation fee for commissions. And that, I already mentioned that they would get the 10 hours of work and all that stuff. Well, that really does help. And it adds to your confidence as an artist when you start saying these things. You don't want to maybe have your potential client think, I'm unsure. They seem unsure, so now I'm unsure. Your confidence is a selling point. And again, it's a good idea to start thinking that you should have maybe a contract in mind. If you're gonna do a commission or anything like that, or if you're sending work to a show, contact the gallery and say, so what's the exhibition contract? Do you have a shipping information? Do you have image information that you require from me? And just the business of being an artist is having documentation and making sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And like, so with this contract, it could be as easy as a cash receipt with a carbon copy. And you say, I'm gonna do this, and here's your copy, here's my copy, you pay 50%, and whenever it's done, we'll get together and we'll coordinate the delivery. It could be as easy as you just typing it up in a Word document and printing it up and having them, you both sign the document, make duplicates, so you both have an original.
Mm.
I would also like to add, and you touched on this before, you are an entrepreneur, so it's a good idea to get into just think about it, you're in sales. You are in sales. And I know that it's kind of like, I hate that I'm in sales. And if you don't think that you can be in sales, just pretend that you're somebody who is in sales and they're very good at sales. Look people in the eye, smile, and engage with them. And and just have, give them that time and talk with them. And you don't have to close every single sale, just go out and have a good time, because you may make a lifelong friend who maybe becomes a collector and maybe they don't buy that night.
And also failure is always an option.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get to keep the work.
Yeah.
So again, that fake it till you make it. And soon enough, I definitely felt more confident talking about money and asking my client for what I wanted. I was able to say, well, this work took blah, blah, blah. This is my material cost. This is my price that I want. And I accept PayPal, which I don't like because PayPal actually takes a little bit of money from you. I accept Venmo, I accept Cash App, I accept cash, check, money order. And how would you like to make payment? And I would also urge you, don't offer payment plans right out the gate. Just see if they'll pay, because a lot of times they may. And again, that confidence is a selling point. And the reason I'm kind of beating this into the ground is that your value is, as an artist, is your time. The artwork that you make is not the artwork. The artwork that you are making is the time spent making. And that is what they're paying you for. And nobody gets to see it really. And it's a very beautiful thing. It's a very personal thing. And if all you're selling is your time, then it's good to be okay discussing it. And, you know, it's just, I used to, it just didn't click for a very long time. And once it did, man, it just got so much easier. And you really will blossom as an artist. And, you know, so you're a valuable person. And the only way that you can make money is based on your time, which is spent making. And don't let someone undermine your value because they're cheap. You don't need, you know, know's the most important word in the English language. Well, maybe other languages too, I'm assuming. But
Yeah.
you don't have to accept the sale. If somebody makes you feel uncomfortable because they're trying to say, oh, sell it to me cheaper, you don't have to say no right away. You say, I'll consider it and get back with you. It's a very polite way of saying no.
Mm.
And getting yourself out of a situation where you don't feel good about that. And,
Yep.
you know,
Don't feel bad about having boundaries.
also, it's okay to upsell your work. Say like, well, it is $3,000. But for you, I'll sell it to you for this. So, and then they feel good, buddy, buddy. And look, this is, I don't, again, it might sound crass, but you're here to, be a business person. And it's nothing personal, it's just business. And I hate that I have to say that. And sometimes like I hate that I have to do those things at work. But you have, if you don't do these things, then people are gonna take advantage of your time and your creativity, and you're not gonna have anything to show for it. And then that gets around and people will know that you're that person they can always go to and get something for free. Or, you know, if you guilt trip them enough, then maybe they'll give you free work over a certain period of time. And that, I don't think that that's fair to you as an artist. Because I mean, you're a culture bearer. You're a producer of what it is to be human. And I don't understand. I think that that's one of the most important things in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that you should be paid for that. But that's my thoughts.
And especially, I mean, you're an artist that also puts yourself out there. That's a factor also. I know that we had talked about prints and how selling prints can kind of be a gamble. And that's not like woodblock prints, more like digital prints of work that you've done.
Yeah, okay, so pitfalls with sending work out to become to a company to print. Different paper qualities, different paper colors, different machines print ink differently. And if you have something that's very delicate, like a watercolor with a lot of washes, you could spend the price it costs that you want to sell the artwork on just one piece, on one print, one test print. I know whenever I was testing a couple of different places, I spent a couple $100 and then I had to have it shipped to me. And then I would have to look at it and it was just kind of like, you know, I'm now deeper in the hole than I ever wanted to be. And then the other pitfall is, well, what if I find this one and it's great? Well, the only way that you're gonna make a lot of money or to make it lucrative for you is if you buy in bulk, which is basically like 500 or 1,000 prints. And there is no guarantee that you will sell 500 or 1,000 prints. You may be giving birthday presents and Christmas presents for the rest of your life with that one single piece of work. However, if you do the math right and say you buy 1,000 and it's a 8x10 print and you're selling it for $20 a print and say the cost for you for that was 2,500 because you had to spend about $500 to test and ship, and then another $2,000 for the 1,000 prints that you ordered and they shipped to you. So 2,500. So you want to make 2,500 back. So then if you do the math and you've got 1,000 and you're selling them at $20 a piece, then you know that you are only going to have to sell so many prints to hit that mark. And whatever else is after that, that's lagniappe, that's your money, that's your earnings. So then that produces an urge for you to go out and hustle and, you know, set up at Comic-Con or set up at a table and engage with your public and try and sell those prints, you know? And so it's a crapshoot again. You don't know. You may have a lot of, I have t-shirts that I print.
Yeah.
And I had recently, I ended up doing a $10 t-shirt sale. And people came out the woodworks for my $10 t-shirt sale, which I was like, I was happy about, but I was also kind of like,
Where were you before?
yeah, where were you before when I had these at regular price? But it was to help me purchase more shirts, which I'm hoping that
Yeah.
that I sell the others.
And if you set up a booth at like the Big Easel or Comic-Con or whatever, you need to be approachable. I often see vendors that are like just reading a book and they may as well have a wall between you and them. You don't have to be crazy outgoing, but just be approachable.
Yeah, I did the Makers Fair a couple of years in a row, and I did 2 different approaches. One year, I have to mentally prepare myself to engage with public. I know it looks like I'm okay, but I'm naturally happy to be quiet and not talk. But one time I brought my linoleum plate and I carved and I did all this stuff and I maybe made 1 or 2 sales. The next time around, I was there. I didn't bring my plate. I had my work displayed and I was standing and I looked people in the eye. And when I made eye contact with them, I smiled and I was like, hi, you know, thanks for coming, you know, this is my work. You know, just talking.
Yeah.
And they would stick around and stay, and more often than not, they would buy something. It's just engaging with the public. It really is a big deal. And if you've ever gone to a show or an event where other vendors are, take a look the next time and see who's got the lines and are the crowds around their tables. And it's, you know, lay odds that it's people who are engaging with the public.
I worked at Vermilionville for a while as one of the artisans that would get dressed up. And I went through the whole thing of getting my costume ready, getting my space ready, and having my dialogue. And I go there for my first day by myself, where tourists will come up and talk to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm horrible at talking to people. Why do I want to do this? But I just forced myself to do it. And by the end of that day, maybe the next day, I was so much more confident in going over my story with them.
Yeah, and by that point, you sometimes have like a set script, you know, that you can rely on. And because you say it so much. So then it's a little
Sounds
bit
like you
easier.
get new news when people walk in the door. Hey, welcome to new news.
Yes.
Hey, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got your little thing with this month we have so-and-so.
Yes.
In the gallery and.
It's a little bit of an assembly line type style, you know, and it's true. Once you have that established, then it takes the pressure off of you in dealing and engaging with public because it can be very scary. I will be yeah.
Yeah.
So Well, I don't know if there was any other points to touch on. I'm sure that there are.
I think that was mostly it. I do have a question for you all. Is there any pricing method I didn't go over that you've used?
This comes from a little bit of discussion with some other artists, and it all kind of starts off with, if you have a certain size piece, okay? Certain medium, a certain size piece, and you have this, and you've determined what you want for that particular piece. If you make something smaller, you have like maybe what you would call a multiplier, or something, so that if you're selling a 12 by 12-inch piece, it's gonna go for a certain price, but it's gonna be comparable to almost the same price that you could pay for that for the 20 by 20 or
Yeah,
something. I'm not sure if that's
No,
coming out.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's a little bit less than what the middle price is,
Yeah,
but it's not quite at the smaller scale price because it's in that vein and that style.
okay.
Okay, yeah. I think that's the sizing,
yeah,
and kind of just like guessing like, well, it's so close that,
I was
Yeah.
making a list, and I made a list for all of the size prints that I made, okay? And, it was just a matter of just, well, okay, this is okay, this piece here is like 22 by 22, all
Yeah.
right? And I want X amount of money for it, but I got another piece that's similar, but it's very small, but it's a lot smaller. Well, I can't necessarily ask the same price.
yeah.
yeah,
And,
But you don't want to price it so cheap that it makes the other one look like it's priced out of.
Right.
You know,
no, I get what
there's
you're
some
saying.
kind of, you gotta have some kind of consistency, I guess, is what I'm.
And that's
Yeah.
part of that being flexible is like having a structure to decide those, to make those parameters. And then go back and edit how you feel it's gonna be the best fit. But I wanna touch upon, you made a very important comment that I don't know if every artist is doing, but you should constantly have an image inventory going of your work. And little blurbs about your work, or maybe with one or two sentences, but have a small thumbnail, have the title, the medium, all of the information and a price that you want. So then you're not having to scramble and do this, all your, and do 20 or 30 images. You're just adding to it as need be, or you're copying, pasting it into a new document for whatever gallery it is. This is part of that documentation thing. And then once you establish that criteria, then another part is that it's easier for you to go and navigate and make those changes.
yeah. And you bring up another good point. None of these formulas are written in stone.
No.
There's not like some book that I took this out of. This is just my best approximation to present to y'all. So
Some of the stuff that I heard from you today is stuff that I've heard from other established artists.
Yeah.
That are selling, and so.
We were talking to them.
Am I talking?
No, I was gonna chime in, and we talked to those artists.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Question. Well, number one, I'd love for you all to tell us what your mediums are, and I know that, there's multiple mediums. And number two, I'm hoping that you can give us some examples of your work that you're priced and the reasons that you priced them with like real numbers. Is that something that you?
Yeah. Yeah,
you want to go first?
sure. So I work as a printmaker, painter, and drawer. I'll talk on my printmaking, pricing. I tend to price my t-shirts that I print at $20 a shirt plus shipping and handling, and they pay the shipping and handling. For this most recent batch of shirts that I did, I priced them higher because a portion of the proceeds are going back to a nonprofit organization. And, but when I make paper prints, It really depends on the size. So I have a tendency to print either poster size, which is about 15 inches by 22, it's about, this, or half of that, which is 11 by 15. If there is color in the print, the price is gonna go up. If it's just a black and white print, then it's gonna stay closer to that $20, $25, $30 range. When it gets color involved, then it goes upwards and I make that decision. It's again, case by case basis. If the work is a full-size sheet of paper, again, that's gonna change the nature of the print. Is it black and white? Is it color? So I make those decisions as I'm working because sometimes when I'm printing, I think, oh, it's just gonna be one color. And then 4 colors later, still haven't printed that key image.
Yeah,
So I never make that decision until I'm signing and additioning the work. It also changes my price. It depends if, let me start that sentence over. The price of my prints will change depending on how many prints I make. If I'm only printing 8 prints and it's a very complicated print, it's going to be a higher price. But if I printed 100, then it's going to be a much lower price because it's easier to distribute and sell at a lower price than it is for a higher price. People will pay that smaller amount, no problem. And I've also found success in the t-shirts because unfortunately, this is part of that demographic and research. I find that people will wear the t-shirt and they won't buy the paper print. I think it's because maybe some people aren't used to purchasing artwork to display in their house. And look, I'll tell you this, nobody ever talks about framing artwork professionally, and that's a whole adult world.
it is.
And it's expensive, but it's worth it. Go to a professional.
Jeremy
Jeremy,
has a spot in the oil
yeah.
center.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing work.
And I bring all of my work to frame up. I don't try doing it anymore because I was just like disaster. But the paintings that I do is I use the ×4 method. And it really is, I calculate the time spent. And it's also how I'm feeling. Do I want this? Am I feeling frisky and I just want to get it out the door? Or am I attached and we're in a serious relationship and I just, I've applied to a couple shows and so we're gonna be together for a while.
Yeah.
Living here, you're a roommate, a non-paying roommate. And so I've also had some where drawings that were very large and sold for a couple thousands of dollars and were shipped to people in different states. And they were delighted to get the work because they loved it so much. And I stuck with my guns. I was like, look, this is the piece that I don't need to get rid of, but I know that you like it. It is this. And they said, I don't mind paying it. And I said, well, let me make sure that it's shipped properly. And then they had it custom framed. I mean, this person probably spent, like $5,000 when it's all said and done between buying the work, shipping it, and the custom frame.
Yeah.
And she still sometimes sends me photos of this work. And I'm like, I love that you love it. Like, it's a very flattering. So, I don't know if that answered your question, Anna, but I'm gonna let it go off to Bob and let him.
Yeah. And I've done abstract acrylic. Recently I'm getting into site-specific installations, which I don't know how to price that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's just one and done kind of thing. I also do linoleum cuts. Those are fairly easy to price. Especially because I just do one color. Digital artwork, I do that sometimes, and that's something that, again, the woes of printing out artwork. Like anybody that has seen a Rothko in a book and seen a Rothko in person, know they can be two completely different creatures. And I do portraiture on the street, something I call unflattering abstract portraits. Um, for those, it's actually, I have it free. That way I'm busking, just like somebody that has like a guitar and their case is open. It usually comes out to like $5 a portrait on that. And I do that as at events also. Um, bare minimum is probably like $200. Usually I ask for like four. I've had people come back to me and ask me what my lowest rate is. And I tell them $0 because I do this as donations to local organizations also. So like I said, be prepared for somebody to ask you for a discount. Sometimes you're totally down for it, and sometimes you're already at rock bottom. I did pricing of one event for portraits. It was in Baton Rouge, and it would have been at night that I would have had to drive home, and I can't drive at night anymore, so I factored in the cost of the hotel room. It did not go through, but I was happy with that cost, and I didn't, sometimes you're not gonna be able to sell. I think that's most of what I had mentioned for that.
You guys have any?
Yeah.
Let me ask this, I catch a little bit of flack because because my substrate is mostly paper. But recently I've gotten into using cottons and silks and different fabrics. I do catch some heck because some people think that the paper is a cheaper substrate, and so it should be a really cheap, it should be a cheaper price than, say, something that was done on some nice muslin or something. Even though you may spend the same amount of money for the same,
Yeah,
for these two different substrates, but
Yeah.
some people think that the fabric is much more precious than, say, the paper. And that's one of.
and then you
You
have
have
to,
any
and then
issues
you
with
have
that?
to come out of pocket to frame your paper piece to display it, likely,
And also that's something that you could be transparent with the buyer. It's like, I know you might think that muslin is a lot more expensive than paper, and that it should have this premium, but really they're the same price.
I mean, there's certain papers that are very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some the
of course.
paper I buy is, anywhere between on the cheap, $5 a sheet. I've seen some that are, $12, $13 a sheet. It really depends on the paper that you're using. And that's part of that. It's really good to have that inventory. So like, oh, this is on Acadiana. It's a rice paper. And it doesn't matter that you have like what is it that my boss used to say? Just because we have the use of word processors doesn't mean that you should undercut your billing because you're using this technology. You have to pretend like you're doing it from scratch. You have to pretend that you're, like this paper, even though you buy 20 sheets and maybe you get it now at $4 a sheet instead of $5 a sheet, it should stay the same price
Yeah,
for because if you want to continue to make art, you can't put yourself into debt for your materials. And that's part of that. Don't let somebody make you feel bad. So again, I really urge you to just be upfront. Like, man, that's funny that you mentioned that. I was shopping and I got my paper, and can you believe it cost this much money? And then I had to frame it, and just that's the way to open up and say, like, this is the reason why it's priced this way. And I get, you would think that muslin is more valuable, and you might see it as more wearable, and you'll have more use out of it. but that's each to each his own.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
I've done quite a number of bandanas and scarves, and they've sold very well.
yeah,
They probably sell better than what my paper prints do.
t-shirts.
T-shirts, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it kind of depresses me a little bit. I want people to buy, you know, as a printmaker, I started making paper prints, but I found a little niche and I can't be upset with it. I do wish that the paper prints, sold
Yeah.
like the t-shirts did. Cool. Be awesome.
Can I have one other question, and y'all can tell me to shut up, okay? Because I have a tendency to talk too much.
We should have given you a microphone.
No, I don't need. I can't hear, so I talk loud. I've been asked to do, well, a couple of years back, I got crazy and I decided to do a workshop. Had no idea how to price a workshop.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all have any idea? Now, I figured it out, you know, and, the price I charged, I thought was kind of high, but the people that participated in, well, you know, they were very happy.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if y'all have any kind of pricing strategy for
I would
workshops or anything?
I would do market research. I would talk to other artists who have had visiting artists come in. I know, like Kathy Dumas now, and she's a local artist, and she has gotten a couple of artists from either overseas or from, different parts of the United States to come and give demonstrations. She would be my go-to and say, hey, Kathy, what were the prices that you charged with these workshops? Because you have to, you know, if it's a visiting artist, you need to pay your artist to house them and things like that. But if you're giving a workshop, it's, you know, you have to have all the materials set for everybody, you know, different workstations. This is a lot of work. And so that's when your hourly rate should come into play.
Mhm.
And, you know, like, this is a 10-hour day. And because maybe the event only goes for 5 hours, but you have, setup and cleanup
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think that those things should be taken into account, your overhead. You know, what if it's a really hot day and you have to have the door open because there's so many people, so you're blasting the AC, you know? Though I would consider all of those things, but I'm a worry ward. I'm like, I would, you know, nail bite into the evening,
Yeah.
into the early morning hours, thinking about all of those things.
Yeah.
I'm an overthinker.
If you know another artist like that, you can reach out to them. You may feel hesitant to do so, but I mean, we all have imposter syndrome. And if you reach out to another artist, that just helps build our community. And then you have a conversation with them and they know what they could talk to you about.
And they may spread the word about your project. When maybe they go.
Factor, like the payment here. I already use like size and how much I want to do. What factors would there be?
Okay, so the question is what are the factors that you would use? What's the criteria that you would use to price painting a mural? For me, the surface of the wall is a huge factor. I mean, if it's brick and it's got stuff growing out of it, I don't know about that, bud. And I've told people, like, you have 3 options. You have A, B, and C. You have best price, you know, like Better Business Bureau standards of like gold standard. We have mid-range, and then we have bottom of the barrel. And I'll tell them what they can do to fix these things. You know, if it's brick, you gotta point and cut the brick. It's gotta be painted. The wall's gotta be cleaned and prepped and ready. Am I doing that or are you doing that? And then the mid-range, and then the bottom, the last case or the lowest one is you don't really do much, but in about a year or two, you're gonna have to go back and fix that mural. And,
I actually watched an amazing, workshop online about, pricing mural, well, just about making mural in general, and I can send you a link to that, because, Canadian is from Freeport, so it's like kind of local, and really comfortable, like the type of stuff that we would be doing here as well, in kind of travel sort of stuff, so, I'll definitely include it in the email.
oh yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, so the other factor would be, you know, aside from surface, I would also think about how many hours daylight or sunlight this mural is gonna receive. Is it gonna be blasted by the sun, the western sun, or is it gonna be the morning sun, which isn't as intense, you know, because you want your colors to last.
Mhm.
And the other factor is do you want your colors to last? So you need to make sure that you're applying ample amounts of gesso primer to the wall and using good quality paint. You can get by with some things, but if you're wanting to make a mural last for 30 years, you have to think about you know, the environment, the sunlight, and all of the pollutants in the air and how it's gonna change that mural over time. And you also need to have insurance for yourself covered. Are you getting, now I'm kind of like more garage style. I've never had insurance, but it's a good thing you should think about. I try to stay on the ground, but if you need to have a scissor lift or a crane, you need to have safety,
And you definitely need to include that in the price, because.
Yeah.
Because that stuff adds up fast.
yeah, and that's just materials and overhead at this point.
Yeah,
I would add in, you know, maybe you have to go stay in another city for a while. So are they gonna house you? Are they gonna feed you? Your cell phone bill, your transportation fees, are they flying you out there? Are you driving? Probably driving because you're gonna wanna have all your gear with you, you know, so that's gonna put miles on your car. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about all of, and I'm not even thinking about how long it's gonna take me to make, those are, you should definitely have, if you're gonna be doing a lot of murals, and that comes with time and trial and error. You know, as you work, you're like, man, I really undersold myself. And I kind of came, I only
Yeah.
paid 63 cents.
yeah, sometimes you just have to eat it if you undersell.
But sometimes you might be like, this is so cool and I love this and I just want to do it. Do it because it feels good. You know, it's that case by case basis. But yeah, the surface is a big quality in materials.
And anything that's public or outside, it's gonna complicate the issue, and it's not gonna last nearly as long as, you know, an acrylic painting.
Oh, yeah, I will also ask if they, because I've been approached to do murals before, I'm like, inside or outside?
Yeah,
And they say inside, I'm like, I'm in. I go for sure.
Yeah.
AC, you betcha.
I've been doing a little bit of work with Robert Dapper through the years. So I've come to understand things like, your surface. The surface prep is real important for all. And, a lot of times what happens is that Robert will hire somebody like me to come back and put, you know, to kind of, put in some kind of mortar or something to kind of fill in things to make a smoother surface or whatever. And so all that adds to the cost of your thing. And I hear this a lot from him, is that, you know, I might charge $25,000 for this mural, but they're gonna get about $50,000 worth of work out of it, you know? So it's like, yeah, he does make money at it, but it seems like he's always doing a little bit more, a little bit more than what.
Well, and that's what keeps people coming back
Yeah.
to him because of the quality of his work that he's doing. But again, that's part of that consultation fee that I said, you know, you're gonna always you're likely gonna get 20 hours. You're not just gonna get 10 hours. It's almost impossible to, the only way that you would be able to pinpoint it is if you had a timer and you clicked it each time
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, clicked it off and tallied it up. But it's exactly what Robert said. Yeah, I might charge 25,000, but you're gonna get 50,000 out of me.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyone else? Excellent.
So, something that's, I have this as well, something that's kept me from, I think, pursuing the business as an artist is the paperwork and the taxes. So
How do you do your taxes?
basically, as a resident of Lafayette, Louisiana,
Okay.
there in business.
Yeah, so I could give you the number to my tax guy. He's super awesome, and he knows I'm an artist. And we've discussed doing end of the year paperwork. So I keep track of every online sale and every cash sale. I keep track of every single receipt that I spend, and at the end of the year, I sort through my receipts. I sort through my gas, my telephone, my internet. The cost of me being an artist is on a spreadsheet in Excel, because I'm a bit of a nerd. And, but to save money on my cost, paying my tax guy, I give him the total value of everything. And, the reason I started doing this was I was applying to grants, and part of you getting the money for a grant is that you had to submit that end of the year paperwork, which was your receipts and your invoices, and showing that the money that you were given was used for that project. And so I just took it into the practice as being an artist, and I've never stopped. I have a bag of receipts. And I sent, I'm like, hey, significant other, why don't you go hunting? And I'm gonna sit in front of the TV and I'm gonna sort my receipts and then tally it all up, calculate it, and get it all ready for my tax guy. And I always claim cash. I don't not claim it. Every single sale that comes in, everything that I ship as an artist, that's the cost of me being an artist. So it's what's coming out versus what's coming in. And if I'm taking in a whole bunch of money, a lot of times I'm offsetting it by having to pay my internet because I use my internet as an artist. I use my cell phone. I use my vehicle. If I go on art trips, I don't claim every single time I fill up gasoline, but if I go to a museum and I pay for the show, that's
Yeah.
me being an artist. That's an art weekend, and I will claim that. If I stay at a hotel and I go to a museum, that's an art weekend. So that's part of me being an artist and enriching my mind to be able to produce more work. And it's all of those things are accounted for. So it's what's coming out and what's coming in. And more often than not, it's a complete wash. What's coming out is, what's coming in is barely scratching the what's coming out. So.
We also tend to have like a tax season session here at ACA for artists, so you can look out for that, and I'll include the video a lot of the I sent around as well. So some good information, but maybe I can add you on the tax guide details in that.
Corey's gonna laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really great, and he's just super easy to work with. And I just give him all of the totals, and it saves me a lot of money in the long run. I think that would be like with any tax person.
Yeah.
You don't want to just give them a bag and be like, here's my stuff, you go figure it out. No, like, that's like. Yeah.
I need to get that number from you.
Oh, yeah. I can send his information to Anna and share it. Just when you contact him, say Susan David shared your information for tax. For, maybe you might be able to take on my tax paperwork. And he's just a really nice guy.
Maybe we get a feedback or.
Oh, I wouldn't expect that, but maybe. We'll see.
Kickback might be, well, I usually charge you X amount to prepare your taxes. Well, since you sent me so much business this year, I'm
Yeah.
gonna reduce that by. Or maybe this time you get it done free.
Yeah. One day, he's like, I don't understand, you're so business oriented and you're an artist. It's like these two different people in one body. 'Cause I go and I've got it all Ziploc bagged, I've got the receipts, and then I've got it folded with the total, and then I've got an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm super organized, but it's because of the grants that I used to write and had to do the paperwork for. In fact, the reason I got in touch with Corey was I got audited for like $8,000. And it was because I didn't get a 1099 for a grant I received. And I'm like, like a few years later,
Yeah.
and I get this letter and they're like, you owe $8,800 something dollars. And I was like, and I was on Instagram, and the girlfriend of Corey said, if you're looking for a tax guy, he's really great. And I messaged her and I got in touch with him and I told him what was happening. And I said, I have every single receipt. I can prove down to the penny that I spent all of this money. I just don't have the 1099. I don't know what happened. Maybe it got lost in the mail. And he said, okay, well, let's meet. And I had it all organized and then he ended up he was like, oh, you were in school these past 2 years, you can get a tax credit. And I was like, I'm never doing my taxes again. This man, I only ended up paying like $90. And I was like, I will pay that $90.
Yeah. I mean,
And I've been with Corey ever since. I will never do my own taxes. So, just like I'll never do my own training.
oh my God. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I can't afford to go to Jeremy, so, but if I've got a big show
Uh-huh.
that I'm really looking
Yeah.
for, then I'll bring it to Jeremy, I'll pay the extra money.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm confident enough that I can do the mat cutting and.
Yeah, I mean, if
and
you
the
can,
assembly and stuff. I do have a good friend that does, he does, some framing. And he's pretty darn good and, but he's not set up the way Jeremy is.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you've got choice.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
kind of just specializes. He has his niche that he likes to do, and then he does like the standard kind of basic kind of,
yeah, look, and that's everybody is gonna figure out, they're gonna have strengths and weaknesses, and I could probably develop, I think everybody can develop that knowledge base. But I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I kind of also want to support them. I would rather have the professional do that work because then it's more work for me and then I feel extra stressed and I don't get to spend the time with my work whenever I decide like, oh, I'm gonna do this. And so sometimes I think there is that inherent value in, giving yourself time to be an artist and calculating that you're gonna wanna have those fees accounted for
Yeah.
when you're selling your work. And if you can set it aside for savings, and then that's like, you can have made enough to frame up a show.
And if you use another artist, they'll give you a price and you don't have to figure that part out.
Anything else? Thanks for letting us talk.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming out here and, I think it's a really important one and I think talking about money is always stressful, but, you're just gonna go into it with the confidence of whitehead, right?
Yeah, just come to the office with me. I'm gonna put you on the phone. I've got people I need to collect on.
You're gonna do great,
Yeah.
but, all right, so I'm gonna stop the video and then